'Cause you're listening to Jams and Tea, you won't see the show on your TV, so we talk about things musically. 'Cause you're listening to Jams and Tea, listening to Jams and Tea. Welcome everybody to this week's Record Club episode of the Jams and Tea podcast, where we spin the jams and spill the tea. And today we are going to be covering Morgan's recommended album, which is Thrice's Vheissu.
Miami Vice too.
There's a lot of
I hate you so
a lot of
much.
vowels.
Appropriately,
Yeah, anyway.
I was reading up on this. The front man took the name of the album from a Thomas Pynchon novel.
Wow.
So, you know, no one's read it.
Who's
That
Thomas
makes
Pynchon?
sense.
Sorry. What?
What?
Was that a joke?
No, I mean, like, who's he pinching? Like, it doesn't matter.
In order to find out who Thomas Pynchon is, we must follow gravity's rainbow and arrive at the truth.
Morgan, please tell us about this release this week.
So yeah, this is the fourth Thrice
Hey,
album.
Porky Pig, right
That's
there.
all, folks.
I made
Thank
that
you.
joke.
Morgan.
Thank you. This is the fourth album by post-hardcore band Thrice, hot off their most successful album at the time, anyway. The Artist in the Ambulance, post-hardcore sort of landmark of the early to mid 2000s, real good stuff. And this is the follow-up to that, where a very significant change in sound occurred. And yeah, whole lot of stuff going on here. So who wants to start?
Boy, oh boy.
Nominate someone. Morgan.
Oh, for fuck's sake, I'll go.
Go
I'm, as with most bands, I am a fan because Morgan is a fan. And passed along.
That's not true at this point.
Well, okay, like, a solid half of the bands that I love were your favorite bands first. Thrice very much being one of them. And this was like the fourth record of theirs that I heard. I didn't have like a specific trajectory when I checked out their stuff. I just sort of listened to whatever was like most highly rated and what you talked about. My favorite release of theirs I've actually mentioned on this podcast is the Alchemy Index, which is a collection of their 4 EPs, which is one for each of the elements, which I just think is a really fascinating and interesting concept. There's a lot of like narrative elements to that. There's a lot of melding of different sounds, not entirely dissimilar to what is going on here. I think the most interesting thing about this record is, in fact, the difference that it is from its previous effort, The Artist in the Ambulance, which is a notably like way more post-hardcore, unkempt, kind of unrestrained album, very much what you think of when you think of a post-hardcore album, whereas this blends in lots of different types of instrumentation. You have lots of pianos throughout the album here. You have some electronic elements. You have some weird-ass instruments, a bit more of an alt-rock focus, I'd say, than like straight post-hardcore, even though it has like occasional aggressive bursts of that. But the cool thing about it is that it's just such a more mature sounding album to come so quickly after one that sounds so like unhinged. This is a record that sounds very meticulous. It's very well put together. I think the production on it is like absolutely outstanding. It's it hits hard. The guitars they soar when they need to, especially on things like the opening track, Image of the Invisible, which fucking rips. So many really good anthemic songs on here like that one. There's sort of a narrative thing going on with this record that, again, would show its face again later on stuff like the Alchemy Index. Sort of a picture painted of like a pirate ship and these adventures and stories that these characters go on, and people like being on this fucking ship for a long time and missing their loved ones and family, and like braving a storm that's particularly vicious, or the end where on my favorite track on the album, and generally speaking one of my favorite album closers probably ever, Red Sky, which is just one of the most epic fucking alt rock songs in the fucking business. It absolutely fucking it shreds. I love that song. But there's just lots of really cool singular stories that happen here. Lots of really interesting music ideas, like on the song Music Box. It sort of starts with this really like subtle chiming, and then like the guitars come in and sort of mimic the chord progression of the music box. And there's lots of moments where it is a lot more reserved than the stuff that was on The Artist and the Ambulance. Stuff like Atlantic or For Miles, which are a bit more straightforward and even kind of somber in places, which really give this album kind of a moody and dour feel. It's kind of an epic tragedy when you look at the entire scope of it, but it also has moments where it goes back to that good old post-hardcore sound, like on songs like Hold Fast Hope, which is awesome. I love that track. It just really it goes hard, and I can't really say much more about that. I just really like the vibe that this record builds. This grew on me a little bit. It's probably in the upper half of their discography, which is generally fairly consistent. I think Thrice maybe only have one kind of mid album, and the rest are pretty good to like outstanding masterpieces. And I'd say this ranks among the best ones, or at least my favorite ones. It's just a really, really unique album, and I'm glad that they took their sound in this very unexpected direction that has a lot of personality, kind of paved the way for what they would do later. And I don't really think there's a weak spot on here. I think that maybe I'd say Atlantic might be like my least favorite song, which is a song I still really enjoy. I think the stretch of Hold Fast Hope to Red Sky is like blistering and just absolutely fantastic. I love the hard-hitting nature of songs like Of Dust and Nations and Stand and Feel Your Worth. Just lots of powerhouse vocal performances from Dustin Kensrue, who is just generally a great, phenomenal vocalist who flexes his range here very, very well. I love the tasteful pianos that are incorporated throughout the album. It's just, generally speaking, a muscular, well fleshed out and very unique release, and I enjoy it immensely.
Yeah.
Okay, I can go after that. Now, I want to preface what I have to say with the fact that I like this album quite a bit.
Oh God.
Here we go.
I have one.
I'm sorry. I just smell a big hairy butt, as in B-U-T.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, like
It would be
like
funny
this
if
record.
that's not what you mean, Morgan.
It would be. I don't think
Yeah,
there are
I mean,
any.
it sounds like a me problem if that were the case.
I don't think there are any songs here that are bad. I have a recurring issue, but it is not pervasive. It is merely occasional. But I think that this is a record in which some songs are let down by the mix. And it's I started to notice it on the opening track, Image of the Invisible. Right, I felt like the vocal mixing was just really bare, and when you're trying to make a song with that kind of visceral impact, I need better mixing. Whereas I feel like it's either the mids or the tops, but one of them is like almost missing. And I don't know why. This is a problem that goes away after a bit. I think it is true of the second track as well, but it would be appropriate for this band to have this issue thrice on this record, in which I feel like in the song Hold Fast Hope, there is a drum break in that song that sounds like ass, and I hate it.
You
like
sound like ass. Fuck you. Sorry.
Thank you. The symbols sound like
Whoopee.
Carry on.
the symbols sound like they're recorded in a washing machine, and I don't get it. But that is not a minor caveat. It's a pretty significant stumbling block for me with this record. But I think that, given the context of this record and what the fact that a lot of what this album does got really, really popular a lot later, I can see that this album is quite ahead of its time in that respect. But I think, like, partly because I was so inured in, like, alternative rock and sort of post-hardcore in the mid-2010s, I am also very used to a lot of the tropes of this record. And that's not the record's fault. It just means I appreciate it more intellectually than I do viscerally. But I think that when it wants to go hard, it goes really hard, and that's effective. But it does somewhat wash over me. But I think songs like Atlantic and For Miles are standout. I think Music Box is a standout. Even with my caveat to the first song, I think it is a great song. And I think Red Sky is a wonderful closer. And the places the vocals go to are brilliant. I can appreciate acutely why one would think this is an amazing record. I think just due to the way my brain works, there's something in it that just causes it to wash over me in places. But I think it is a very enjoyable record, and I would happily listen to it again.
Yeah, I mean, I like the record a lot, actually. I think a bit more than you, but I do have a similar kind of experience of where it's like, at least after the first couple listens, I struggled to distinguish parts of the album at certain points. And I do feel myself more drawn to the really aggressive parts of the record, particularly, which makes me think I'll probably like their previous record before this even more than this one.
You'd probably dig Illusion of Safety a lot.
Yeah, but that said, there's still a lot to like on this album. It's very, very engaging. Particularly, I really like the song The Earth Will Shake. I think that's where the album really kicks into gear for me. I just love that song. I love the aggression of it. I love just generally, like, it's just, again, I don't have a lot to say. If I have a complaint, it just may be that there is, I don't know, not enough variation on this record to consistently keep me engaging. But then again, they do vary their sound throughout it. Like, it's not a one note necessarily. It's just that they play with a particular aesthetic and sound that is not like my favorite sound, but they do it really well. I particularly love the 3-song trio of Music Box, like Moths to Flame and Of Dust and Nations. It's my favorite section of the album there. I just like, once it gets to that point, I'm just like fully on board. But then there are other points of the album where I think the songs meander a little bit in a way I don't care for, like Stand and Feel Your Worth, and also like Hold Fast Hope. Good songs. I wouldn't even call them mid. I would say they're good songs, but they are points on the record where I feel as though they don't accomplish anything that other songs don't accomplish. Multiple other songs don't accomplish better. So it does, like, I'm held a little bit at a distance from this, specifically musically. But I still really enjoyed it. I had no trouble wanting to put it on and listen to it. I certainly feel as though the more I've listened to it, and I have listened to it thrice, I'm gonna
Like the band, I made that joke as well. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm
safe.
gonna go and drown myself. Yeah. So I found my,
Like in the album.
I'll find you at the bottom of the sea. Ha ha.
yes, that, yeah.
Bury me in concrete, turn me into a street.
Yeah, but like I said, I found myself enjoying the album more with each successive listen. I would not be surprised if that continues to happen. I think I will get more out of their more aggressive releases, or if they have releases that are a little bit more challenging. This very much feels like a defined sound that they do very, very, very well. And for the most part, it really grabs me. There are just like parts of the album where I wish maybe they were varying things a little bit more, but still a very, very, very solid record. I don't have a lot of interesting thoughts. I just think that it's very solid, and I'm glad I heard it.
All right, so I suppose that leads swiftly into me. So, I've listened to the artist in the ambulance before this, and I enjoyed that a fair bit. And this is kind of Thrice's sound. Thrice's sound is just this very aggressive mix of post-hardcore and electronic elements, and I think on a track-by-track basis, I find this album to be a bit hit or miss. I mean, and that's mostly on the strength of the lyrical content of this album, which I think rides the line between being quite compelling and interesting to being kind of overbearing and a little sappy for my tastes. I'm not crazy
That's right,
about the
disappear.
opener.
I was gonna say you became Jonathan Higgs for a moment.
Yeah. I'm not crazy about the opener. We are. Is it like we are the image of the invisible?
Image of the Invisible is the song name.
Okay, no, but that is the line that gets repeated like every other line, and I was not a huge fan of that technique. But on the other hand, Thrice's sense of like tunefulness and song structure is quite apparent on a track like Between the End and Where We Lie. I mean, overall, just so many of the aspects of this element. Overall, that aspect of this like unique sense of like just being very tuneful and crafting interestingly arranged songs does carry this album for me, and it does make up for a lot of the faults I have with it. Electronically, there's a good deal to digest here. There's like the keyboards are very nice on the track The Earth Will Shake, which they just rung very beautifully on that track, or like the lonely longing synths on Atlantic. I mean, just in general, the instrumental palettes are gorgeous and captivating, and I am very much into this record on that principle alone. And I do quite love, as Jake has pointed out, Dustin's vocal performances across this album. He brings a lot of intensity to songs like 4 Miles, but also can show a good deal of restraint. And on top of this, like I said, it's just nice. It's nice to listen to. I mean, it's just writing on songs like Hold Fast Hope and Stand and Feel Your Worth, as Tyler has pointed out, among a couple others that drag the experience down for me. And it bugs me in the same way it bugged me on their previous album, and I don't really care for the contrast between that and the heaviness conveyed by this album's instrumentation. However, there is enough going here for me to be forgiving, and overall, I think it's a good album, worth a listen. It might grow on me over time. It's grown on me a bit since listening to it, but that's my take.
This has been such an interesting exercise. Just because it kind of outlines for me what albums I should not recommend for this segment. And that's nothing to do with anyone's opinion. It's just that we don't really have a whole lot interesting to say. And I mean, I don't really either, because all I'm going to do is shower this with praise. This is one of the most important records for me personally, just in my musical journey. I think I heard this when I was like 16 or 17. I can't exactly remember, but I got dog hair in my mouth.
Oh,
Ugh.
oh dear.
Disgusting.
Anyway, yeah, this is an important step in my sort of musical journey, if you will, particularly in the way that it sort of got me to engage with electronic music in my own sort of gateway sense that this could get somebody who's only really listens to, alt rock and emo shit to sit down and like the bleep bloops. Yeah, especially on the songs that stand out the most for me in particular are actually the less aggressive ones, like Between the End and Where We Lie and Atlantic, and especially the closer Red Sky, which is probably my favorite Thrice track in general.
Agree.
I just the way those songs absolutely soar. I love it so much, and they're just so catchy. Like this whole album is really catchy, but like those songs in particular, I think have really strong hooks, and yeah, but that's also not to say that the aggressive side of this album is lacking at all, because Hold Fast Hope is right there, and it's just hard as hell. It just hits, man. Gets you hyped up. It's like perfect, not that I know anything about working out, but it'd be great workout music, I imagine. Just get you hyped, And sort of, I think that's what sort of unifies the whole album is a sort of theme of no matter how, dark things may seem, there is always a reason to get back up and hope again, which, sounds like a bunch of platitudes when you say it like that, but combined with the music and like how dark it gets sometimes, like particularly on like The Earth Will Shake, where, it's this looming, I don't even like what genre is that song. I mean, like it's obviously rock, but like it's not doom metal, but it has like that atmosphere, and then the part where it transitions into the sort of chain gang vocals, like that's just one of my favorite moments in music. Chills every time with that one. It's just about, to me, it's always resonated, not just as a music fan on a journey who's constantly learning new things about music, but the way it resonates with me personally is, it's something hopeful, but it feels like more than platitudes. It acknowledges the darkness of life and just being sometimes, and it balances that with hope and a reason to get back up every day, encompassed in a weird almost indecipherable concept about pirates or some shit. I don't know. It's cool. Yeah, I mean, if this is a concept album, that I have no idea what the concept is, other than it's good.
I love
That
the
exact
cover as
sentence
well.
is me listening to like most concept albums that Morgan recommends. I have no idea what
Mars
it's
Volta
about, but I like it.
discography type beat.
Yeah,
Also,
Colors
when you
is a
said they
concept
had
album.
like a series of concept EPs about the elements, I was like, yeah, this is a Morgan band.
Yeah.
Even then, that's like it's.
I don't know what that means.
It's a
Like,
pretty cogent
who-
narrative. Like here, I
who-
think
who
really
ta-
the concept is that it's just a bunch of stories from a bunch of people on this Pirate Crew, like Burning, or what it was, the song Moth to the Flame, was that the name of the fucking song? That song, it's about like, trusting like the fucking like the captain of the ship with like their lives, and like despite the fact that like they have reason to doubt and to basically just like to not do what they have been doing and like hold steady and try to brave this like storm, but like, and they're just all putting their like trust in this one person and being burned like moths to a flame because they're attracted to this sort of guy who's just this enigmatic personality who's able to rile them up and do shit like that. So I mean, it's not like it's a super dense concept, it's just stories.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Who was
aware
it
of that.
who made a joke about now where it was like, and this is a concept album, the concept is it's bad.
That's a thing we say all the time.
I was gonna say Tyler brings that up a lot because it's funny.
Yeah.
We're gonna make a concept album where the concept is it only samples balloons. Oh wait, I'm doing that.
That's right.
I'm also working on a concept album about B movies. It's not going to be the next record I release or even the one after that, but it's happening.
Oh, cool. So,
I've written a
what's
song
your
based on
favorite scene?
my favorite scene.
Yeah, from the B movie.
I was
It's
going
when-
there. I was ready.
It's when
So,
Ray
I
Liotta
thought, no,
says-
I'll let August take this one because I've been
It's-
doing it a lot today.
it's
I like it when they call Sting Gordon Sumner.
It's when the bee looks at Ray Liotta and he's like, "This isn't a good fella. This is a bad fella."
Who
I
are
like
you
when-
people?
I like when Patrick Warburton tries to kill him. He's like, bees!
Patrick Warburton has such a great voice, honestly. He was a man who was designed to be a voice actor.
Totally.
Can't
What
wait
does
to
that
watch
have
this
to do with
back.
Warburton?
Can't wait to
You're-
watch this back and see the exact moment my nose started bleeding.
Oh shit, is
no.
that what I thought you just left because you were like, I'm fucking done with you people.
No, I thought that was.
Oh, dear.
I mean,
no.
there could be a link
Saoirse's
between
garbage
those two
take about the
things.
drumming on Hold Fast Hope broke his
Hey,
nose.
hey! The drumming is fine. The drumming's really good. It's the mixing.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pin this on some of the bad takes flying around this episode that you broke my
Okay,
brain.
so should we move on to ratings? Favorite tracks?
tricks.
I suppose, Liana. What's this episode gonna be? Like 25 minutes?
Yeah, that-
It should be a bit longer than that.
I'm
Well, that
sorry.
was an everything song right there, Tyler sung.
Yeah, I said I recited every lyric in Get to Heaven, but I did it really fast.
It's the heaven.
So you just sung "Get to Heaven."
Spring, sun, winter, dread. I don't want to get older.
So Jake, what are your 3 favorite tracks?
My
and
3
least
favorite tracks are Red Sky, which, like Morgan, I have to say that's my favorite Thrice song. I'll say Hold Fast Hope, since that song's gotten slandered mercilessly. I really like that one. And Music Box. And my least favorite, I guess, is not just by you, Saoirse. Everybody said something bad about it. Hold your fucking horses. My least favorite's probably for Miles. Rating wise, I'd give it a strong 8 out of 10.
8-0.
All right, that's me. My 3 favorite tracks are "The Earth Will Shake," "Atlantic," and 4 Miles. My least favorite would be "Stand and Feel Your Worth," and I would give this album a 6.5. Maybe, yeah, 6.5.
Acceptable. My 3 favorite tracks are Red Sky, Between the End and Where We Lie, and of Dust and Nations. And I do actually have a least favorite track. This is actually kind of a funny album in the sense that if I heard it for the first time now, I'm positive that I would still love it. But, I'd probably only give it like a 9 or a 10, but since it was so important to my journey,
Only give it a 10.
8 or a 9.
I'd probably only give this a 10. But
Again, you step out of line for one moment here. Everybody crawls up your ass.
His nose is bleeding. His brain cells are leaking out. And you're making fun of him.
that's fair. I'm sorry.
When's the Jams and Tea special episode where Tyler goes to an old folks home and ridicules the people there?
You can't even fucking talk.
It reminds me, Tyler said like this is definitely a Morgan band when he heard this band has like a collection of 4 EPs about the elements. And I thought the exact same thing when he told me about what's that album called where it's about like Alzheimer's or whatever and it's like 10 years long.
Oh, Caretaker.
Yeah, that one. I'm like, that's definitely a Tyler album.
The thing is, now I'm picturing that episode where it's like, excuse me, Deirdre, could you pass me the remote? And Tyler's like, you've been watching Supermarket Sweep for half an hour. Like,
No, it's just
That
like, can you
voice.
pass me the remote, please? And then she hands him a book, and it's just like, stupid ass. Hand me a book. That's not what I asked for.
Jeez. I'm definitely pedantic, but I hope I'm not that.
He takes a golf club to people's knees.
wow.
And make fun of them for not being able to crawl back to their room in time.
No. He makes fun of them after that for not being actually able to play golf.
You know what? I just want to say, since I started this chain of thought, that this is something that applies to every single person on this podcast, including myself. So, really, this is
It's what makes our dynamic so cool.
Morgan, what is your rating?
Tyler goes to a nursing home and then yells at people for not being able to hear Get to Heaven because they're deaf.
I'm
fucking
gonna...
normie. You haven't heard Get to Heaven?
Sorry, no, I'm just imagining any of us bashing in like an old person's kneecaps for the golf club and being like, how's that for a handicap?
It'd probably just look like that scene in The Irishman where Robert De Niro kicks that guy on the ground and he looks like he's 120 years old.
So what? That's like at least a third of this episode not talking about the album at all now.
And yeah,
That's, in fairness, that is every episode we do.
Yeah, that's probably true.
okay.
Anyway, your track is Stand and Feel Your Worth, and my rating is a 10 out of 10. Obviously, though.
Shocking.
Ooh.
It's almost like I recommended the album.
Yeah.
Sersha.
Almost.
I'm not giving it a 10. My
No
favorite.
fucking
Oh,
shit.
shocker there.
What are you rubbing salt in the wound now?
Jackass.
Okay. My favorite tracks include from my old music box and Let's Go with Red Sky. And my least, I don't really have a least favorite. If you force me to pick, I might say, I don't know. Yeah, I have no notes on The Earth Will Shake, so I'm going to pick that one.
I know that song rules.
Bad
What the
take.
fuck?
Bad take.
And hey, I'm saying that because I literally can't remember it and I have no notes, so I'm assuming that's. I'm giving this album a 7.
Okay. Look,
Voila.
if it means anything to any of you, the process of hearing you talk about this album has made me enjoy it more and want to go and listen to it again, even though I literally listened to it immediately before we started recording today. My 3 favorite tracks are The Earth Will Shake, Like Moss to Flame, and Of Dust and Nations. My least favorite track is Stand and Feel Your Girth. And
Fuck you.
Laughed at your own joke before anyone even had a chance to process it.
That's what he always does.
I try not to. I really do. I'm not laughing at my own joke because, like, ha, how funny am I? It's
Today's
just that-
episodes are just so fucking chaotic. Like,
Yeah.
They're disasters. So Tyler, what is your rating.
Stand and feel your girth. That's yeah.
What do you rate the album?
I give this album a emphatic 7.5 out of 10.
Amazing. So
Whoever
that's
edits
7
this, I
point.
swear, if this isn't the thumbnail, what are you doing?
No, I was going to suggest
Yeah,
that
it has to be.
the thumbnail.
Get a grip.
It's like Morgan's like an anime character who sees a boob and then has a nosebleed. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, August.
Except it's dust in Ken's room.
I mean, he's pretty nice looking man. I'm not gonna lie.
So that
All
got
right.
a 7.8 average, which
Nice.
yeah, closest to that to 7. Other 7.8 is LP5. Our 7.9s include Addicted and Colors.
Wow, very Morgan core albums.
Yes.
All ones. No, you recommended Addicted. Never mind.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Second
Tyler
last.
recommended Auteca, so
Yeah. Anyway,
Tyler
this-
recommended Autecker?
No,
crazy.
No, that was
No.
that was Zach, not me.
Zach De La Rocha.
I do find it amusing though how of like the five of us plus Zach, like he's the person who is the least interested in Ortega. I don't know why that's funny to me.
It doesn't make sense. That's like a band you would talk about and you'd just be like, hey, have you ever heard fucking Chiastic Slide? And you'd just be like, dude, I fucking love Chiastic Slide. I fucking eat that shit for breakfast and pour it with my
Considering-
Cheerios.
like Morgan, Jake, and I are like not usually listening to music that resembles Auteca, and Zach probably more likely to. I find that confusing.
Zach
It's
is
like the spectrum is Tyler, August, me, and then Morgan and Saoirse kind of operating sort of like a little same area.
No, Zach is like singer-songwriter shit, but also weird rock shit. I don't really think he listens to a lot of
Yeah,
electronic music.
shit like Spiderland. That's Zach.
So by weird rock shit, do you mean Zach likes post-punk?
I was thinking,
Yes.
post-punk. I was just thinking of Liars. Anyway, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Thank
What's
you.
the next
So
albums?
the next record club review is The Violent Femmes self-titled, which Saoirse has recommended. Classic album. We'll be discussing this time next week.
Looking
yeah.
forward to it. Very important album to me. Listen to a very key part of my life.
Mhm.
Very influential on a genre I love.
Fantastic. So, with that all
Gonna
being
make
said,
sure to be like drums sound like crap. 7 out of 10.
Well, I would argue
Rock over
that
London.
more
Rock
Rock
on
on
Chicago,
Chicago.
the warehouse where everyone gets a bargain.